Yeah, but like now I'm just wearing pants all day, and like the shorts life is just a lot better.
Short life is better.
Yeah, just wearing shorts, flip flops.
It's
We're
called
live, by the
also
way.
shorts.
We-
We're live. Oh, we're talking about shorts.
I
This is
mean,
going to be a short introduction.
smart
Ba-da-dum.
shorts. I think Google
Smart
was doing
shorts.
something with Levi's, but like it wasn't all not really useful. All right.
That logo needs
Boom.
sound like a whoosh or something.
Whoosh.
Yeah.
We're back. It's been 2 months since we were in this virtual room. Well, I mean, last month we were in a room, but physically. So it,
It was different.
it was
Fun,
different. It was,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
That was really
definitely.
fun.
So welcome everybody. Welcome to the state of the no, not state of the Home Assistant release party for the Home Assistant release 2022.12. And sad news, this is the last release of the year. Um,
That's not sad.
I
Like,
guess the year is almost over, so that is it's good. And it's
holidays are coming.
yes, and it's full of a lot of cool features, so that you will not be bored during the holidays. Um, yeah, I guess let's do a quick introduction because there might be some new faces or familiar faces, but from a different channel that you see on the stream. So um, let's do a quick introduction round. I'm Paulus. I'm the founder of Home Assistant. Um, yeah, and I work on whatever comes on my plate.
Okay, I'm Frank. I work on the Home Assistant project, and I'm well. You might know me best from the release notes and doing the releases, but I run around everywhere in the project to help out wherever I can in between releases. Louis, you're up.
Oh, me. I'm Lewis, and I like to use Home Assistant. And sometimes I make videos.
Some.
Hey, I'm Nick. So I'm obviously the guy who's somewhat obsessed with performance and optimization, and more recently worked a lot on Bluetooth. So I have a couple of great Bluetooth demos to show today. So also really exciting because we're at a point where I think Bluetooth is great for local and for remote. So we'll talk more about that today.
Hi guys, I'm Marcel. I work on the U integration within the Home Assistant, and most recently, of course, the Matter integration.
Awesome. Cool. So if you haven't updated to the latest Home Assistant release yet, that makes sense because it was literally just done 10 minutes ago. Close call today. Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
it will be
what?
another 30 minutes before upgrade notifications will start to appear. So for the next 30 minutes, be patient.
Yeah. Just keep refreshing. No, we have the builds are building.
I will do a shout out if it's ready.
Cool. So where do we start today?
Shall we like? Yeah, we've not discussed this. This is really good. Shall we just like start by well, like, we have a couple of different subjects today, right? So should we just go over the release notes quick and then like dive
Yeah.
into deeper on different subjects?
Yes.
All right. Let me share my screen. Oh, this is also well prepared. This one, like literally 15 minutes ago, I was prepping a release. Now I'm trying to stream. Okay, here we go. We're getting there. Hold on.
Boom, boom, boom.
You should have some notes here. There it is.
Right.
So this is the last release of the year,
Yeah.
and we got some nice. Well, we go out with a bang, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Roofie support. Boom. Finally.
Roofie. As a matter of fact, even though the tweets and like social media postings are out for just 15 minutes now, I already saw 2 responses on Roofie. So apparently people use it and are like happy to
I have
see it.
actually
So
no idea what it is. Are those the
that,
stuff? Yeah, it is
It's
Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. Yes, it's Bluetooth. But there's one big one that stands out in this image, I would say. And uh, would it matter
Yeah.
to talk about it? Let's make some jokes about matter.
Oh,
I think
man.
we have one. We have some jokes about it, right?
Enough. So the
Yeah.
release is called it doesn't it matters, and that's because, well, not just Home Assistant matters, but this release ships with Matter. Marcel.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally, right?
Fine. Yeah. It's been
Yeah,
one and a
it's
half
been
months.
quite a ride.
It's 1.5 months since 1.0 was tagged. No, so we have Matter. Yeah. This is a big deal. The reason it's a big deal is not because you can go out and buy a Matter device right now, but it's because all the pieces are now in place in Home Assistant to start building and expanding our Matter support. So obviously, like Marcel has done a lot of work over the last few months to kind of get it all ready here, and he's going to talk about it a lot more. But you know, the first part, whenever you introduce a new technology, and actually for the people that don't know Matter, I mean, maybe that's also good. Matter is a new smart home standard. It works local, and companies like Google, Apple, Amazon have all are committed and have already. Some of them have already released support for Matter. So it means that as a manufacturer, we can expect a lot of cheap devices because each device can work with all the major ecosystems. And it means that for us, we get a lot of locally controllable cheap devices. That's the theory. So we'll see. We're in the beginning of this whole cycle, right? So the first part is us controllers need to, like, the home automation controllers, you know, Home Assistant, but also Google and Apple. We all need to roll out Matter support. Then device manufacturers can consider releasing Matter devices. And then when people start buying it, then, you know, we get this feedback loop, and then, you know, hopefully Matter will be a success. And, you know, is Matter better than like any random proprietary API? Yes, because it is standard, it is local, and there's a bunch of other features that are really cool, but basically because it's local, it works with Home Assistant, then you don't need any cloud reliance, like the company can go under. Matter products, they keep working. So Marcel, how does it work?
Yeah. Well, to start, Home Assistant is now a Matter controller. So you can actually control Matter devices in your network, and the network means either Wi-Fi, so Wi-Fi connected devices, or devices connected to a Thread network. And Thread is like a Zigbee like radio protocol. It's tied to Matter, but it's just like a separate radio protocol. But a question we get a lot is if Home Assistant is like a bridge controller or something, so you can use the devices in Home Assistant to bridge to Matter, but it's actually the other way around. This first release of Matter support in Home Assistant means that if you can go to a store and buy a Matter compatible device, you can't just now, but starting January, February, I guess, I hope, you can actually buy devices that have Matter support out of the box, and you can add them to Home Assistant just like a Z-Wave device or a Zigbee device or etc. And that's the whole point of the release of today, that we are prepared for those devices. Yeah, so it's a bit of a bummer maybe. So you don't have any devices yet, but there are some manufacturers that have beta firmware. So like Wiz has some beta firmware, U has some beta firmware, and there are some ESP32 firmwares available. You can load yourself and play with it, so you can have it. You can give it a test drive. So it's just being prepared for the flood of Matter devices that will come.
Right. If you have an ESP32, we did a Matter workshop in June, and we have updated that website. I'm gonna quickly show that website if I can. Basically, it's a very basic website that we added to. Basically, through the web, you can install a Matter compatible firmware on an ESP32, and now you will be able to commission this with Home Assistant. And we have updated this website, so if you have installed from this website before, like last week, you will probably have to install it again because Matter has slightly changed on its way to 1.0. But if you want to play with Matter today, this is it. So this will talk over Wi-Fi with Home Assistant. I mean, Matter, as Marcel said, it works. It's IP-based, so both Wi-Fi and Thread. You will be able to commission Thread devices also with Home Assistant right now. It does rely on the Thread border routers built into Google and Apple's devices. So basically, the way it's going to work right now is that today, if you want to commission a Thread device, you will need to use the Android beta app of Home Assistant, and you will need to have a Google Home Hub 2nd Gen or Google Home Hub or Nest Hub Max. In those special cases, then you can pair a Matter device. However, that's right now, right? All these things are going to change. Now, Matter is there. We expect the iOS app to be updated. The Android app, of course, needs to go to stable. And so all these things kind of will come. And so, yeah, it's a good first.
Maybe we should explain what a Thread border router is, because we mentioned it quite quickly because we're like in the Matter. But I don't know if everybody knows what a Thread border router is and what Thread is anyway. So maybe, I don't know if we should mention it or explain it later, but we have a nice picture of it. I don't know, we're not really prepared for it, but we have a nice picture that explains what like a Thread border router that connects your Thread network to your Wi-Fi. But
I think, the way I like to explain Thread border router is how your home Wi-Fi router connects all your Wi-Fi devices to the internet, and the Thread border router connects all your Thread devices to your local network. Either over Wi-Fi or, I have, let me see if I can just throw this in here. This is from this is from June from our workshop. But yeah, as you can see, you have this picture has 3 border routers. This is a picture by Google, by the way, the source is here. These are 3 border routers, and your Thread devices are connected to these border routers. Thread can mesh itself, and eventually it will end up in a border router and then be sent over Wi-Fi, for example, to Home Assistant or Google Home or Apple Home or whatever. And the cool thing about, of course, Matter is that you can have every device can be connected to 5 different fabrics, as they call it. So you can set up simultaneously Home Assistant, Google, Apple, Samsung, and then you have room for like a 5th one. So, it can work with all these things. It will probably kill battery power devices because every message has to be sent 5 times, but we haven't really seen any real life, there's no devices. So who knows, that's just theory, but it's really cool because it will be easy for you to try out a next device. That is also Yellow, who's been working on the Android development. He has also experimented with you can share Matter devices just in Android. So you click on a Matter device in, this was an example app, but you click share and then Home Assistant becomes a target and it will be added to the Home Assistant Matter network. So lots of cool things coming. Not so useful today, but it's there.
Yeah, that's the gist, right? The gist is a lot of it. Well, you can benefit from a lot of the work we do today, but just in a few months or something. There are no real devices, but it's nice to see progress. And when we release Thread support in Home Assistant, you can have your own Thread border router instead of having to rely on a Google Hub or an Apple Hub. And the nice thing is that it can work together. I think that's the real game changer of Matter, is that it can all cooperate together.
Yeah. Well, this brings us actually to a nice segue. Is that
just one question, one thing? Are we now, I just realized today, we're probably the first one in the world to actually ship something Matter related as stable release, at least ship it to consumers.
Is rolling out, right? Yeah, Google is rolling out already.
No, I think Google. Well, I'm not sure if Google is still in the beta. I know that. I think Samsung was the first, so they have some of their SmartThings stuff.
I wanted to call first, but
no, they also got certified and stuff. We're not certified either yet.
Right.
But Marcel's a certified recertifier for Matter So
Have you ever heard? Have you ever heard of it? I'm a certified recertifier.
The
All right.
worst part, it's not even a joke. That's the worst part.
yeah.
Yeah, that's,
It's a certified recertifier.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we have also been, so we have talked in the past about thread a lot, and we, we announced both Home Assistant Yellow and the SkyConnect, our USB stick, which I was gonna have somewhere here, but I don't see one right now. But anyway, both the Home Assistant Yellow and the Home Assistant SkyConnect, actually, oh, there it is. I have one over, I have a picture on these slides. Yeah. So this is the SkyConnect, and then we have, of course, the Home Assistant Yellow. Both these are having a radio that is compatible with both Zigbee and Thread. As the first Yellows have been shipped out, you might have noticed that like Thread wasn't enabled yet. In this release, Thread can be enabled, so you can enable multi-pen, as it's called, where it will update your SkyConnect or the radio inside your Yellow to run a new firmware, which is a piece of software that runs on the radio chip inside the Yellow or on the inside the SkyConnect, and it will both run Zigbee and Thread at the same time. However, our Matter integration does not use that Thread border router yet, so it is not very useful yet, but it's a work in progress. So this also was just like we wanted to get it in, to get the foundation in, and that will should all be going out in January. What is also going out in January is that the Home Assistant Yellow, Power over Ethernet, are on a boat. So that is the last part for our backers and for people that have pre-ordered it. It's been on a boat actually for a week and a half now, or at least being shipped on a boat, getting to the US. And so we definitely aim it should arrive, I would expect in January. So it can
you
take
have the
a while.
Beatles song ready, Frank? You have the Beatles song
Sorry?
ready?
The
The
Beatles.
Beatles song. Yeah, like the Yellow Submarine.
Oh.
Couldn't resist.
I will take another coffee. Sorry, that didn't land.
If people have, so the first batch of SkyConnects are being shipped out right now this week. The first distributors had gotten their shipments. I know that Raspberry Pi DK has already started shipping orders, and M.Nu probably too. Yeah, so that's if you did, but there should be more SkyConnects become available. Probably end of December / beginning of January is when the next shipment will become available. So if you missed the first release of SkyConnect, more will come. So yeah, I see actually a question here. I'm just gonna jump in. Make it work. It's asking, can we modify our Yellow to add PoE? No. So you cannot add PoE to Yellow. Can you get like a PoE splitter that turns into like a power in for your Yellow? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, you have some available, yeah.
Yeah. No, you should have ordered the other one. Makes it work.
Yeah, it's more nice.
Yeah. Now the problem with well, not the problem, but the PoE of course doesn't come as a full ready-made box, right? It only comes as the kit. So that's why some people have not chosen it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. One more question I'm seeing. I'm just doing some Matter questions now because I
Yeah,
see
sure.
And could I add a SkyConnect alongside my Z-Wave stick? Yes, you could. Just to add enhanced Matter support, it would be enhancing, right? Because Matter will work over Wi-Fi without the stick. Adding Thread to it means you can talk to Thread devices like sensors and stuff.
Yeah, and we expect most sensors to be Thread enabled.
Yeah,
that's what we saw last month. There were Thread devices hitting the market.
cool.
I have a quick question about Matter, maybe. So I think this release adds you can commission a Matter device. I know there isn't any just now, but for people who are not maybe into the Matter stuff, what does commissioning sort of mean for a user?
So it's two steps process. I'm just gonna add I have a nice slide that shows the two steps. So commissioning is two parts. The first part is that Matter is IP based. What does that mean? It means that if you are connected to your Wi-Fi network at home, it should be able to talk to Matter devices. Now, if that eventually goes over thread is not so important to the Home Assistant or Matter itself. So the first step in the commissioning process is to get the device connected. So what you do is that you have to, using Bluetooth, so that's why initially we're focusing mainly on commissioning over Android and iOS phones, because these phones have Matter support built in. So they will do the Bluetooth handshake with a device, send it the Wi-Fi credentials or send it the thread credentials. The device will get connected. And the second part is to pair with it. So once it is connected to the Wi-Fi or thread network, Matter can talk to it, and then it will exchange keys for a secure connection. And so where in Zigbee land you used to like, or Z-Wave, you know, you have to like factory reset a bulb, or new bulbs will, you know, like the moment you put the battery in, powers on, it will be in pairing mode. That is slightly different, and I think they chose Bluetooth because it will allow a better user experience, just as we did with Improv Wi-Fi. You know, with Bluetooth, you can get feedback. Am I connected to the Wi-Fi? Yes, not. Yes or no. So it's called commissioning, but like you can use pairing really also.
Yeah. So it's basically like forming the thread network, I guess. And then I guess the next part of it would be to actually expose the sensors and things into Home Assistant.
Yeah. And then, so this Bluetooth connection, generally what tends to happen is that there's a QR code on the box. So the QR code on a box contains a key, and that key will basically can be used for pairing. And so once it's paired to the first network, let's say you paired with Home Assistant, and then later you'd be like, well, I actually want to also directly pair it to my Google network. You will be able to open a commissioning window on your device from Home Assistant. You get a code, you send it to Google, and it will be able to pair that device as well directly. So basically, once it's connected, you don't need the first step anymore because it's already on the Wi-Fi network, so you only need the second step. And that's actually also how right now we're going to work. So on, for example, iOS, the idea is that it will create a temporary network for Matter. It pairs the device. The device will be able to get connected. Then from the temporary fabric, it will pair it into Home Assistant, and you also get the choice: do you want to pair it into Apple Home? Because you know that's how iOS works. With Google, you don't have the option, but Google it will pair it directly into Google Home, and from there on, it goes into Home Assistant, which has, of course, the downside that you will always pair every device directly to Google.
Yeah, so there was a term in there that's fabric. Might be helpful to like clarify what that is, because Matter basically, as far as I understand, has support for like multiple
yes.
Matter networks or something.
So this is kind of like a joke where like with thread you make a fabric, and like Matter is kind of also, it's all like in that kind of terms, silly jokes. But basically, they couldn't use the word network, right? Because you would have a Matter network on top of your Wi-Fi network, so it's very confusing. So I guess they introduced a new terminology called fabric, but it's really just a set of paired Matter devices, or a group, right? So it's, and then so you have your Home Assistant Matter fabric, your Google Matter fabric, your Apple Matter fabric, etc.
And devices can be in those like multiple, like hives, fabrics, groups, whatever, at the same time, right?
Yes, exactly. So what happens is that, and every state change, every update is sent to all fabrics at once, right? Every fabric can make subscriptions, but generally you subscribe to all updates. So for example, Home Assistant say, anything that happens to your device, send it to me. Google will say to that device, anything happens to you, you also send it to me. And then we don't know how Google interacts with that device because every fabric has its own encryption, right? So,
understood.
Yeah, and so there, you know, it's kind of wild right now because there's a lot of terminology flying around, and I think it will definitely like take at least like 5 videos of Lewis before like everybody understands the ins and outs.
But or maybe just more confused.
In general, this will take a long time to adopt, right? Like this Matter stuff, like, sure, it's great we're shipping, and we're not there yet, but the manufacturers and the whole IoT and smart home market isn't there yet, right? That will take years to be like normal.
Yeah. I mean, you
So
have to start buying stuff for your house, but you're not going to throw away all your old stuff, right? So it's
right.
not.
So this is a question I see a lot, which then will become relevant really soon, I guess, is should you then only buy Matter devices, or should you wait for devices to become available for Matter, or does it matter at this point?
I I wouldn't wait. As in, like with Home Assistant, the problems Matter is solving is Home
Yeah.
Assistant users are not impacted, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
that's-
Matter is a lot less relevant to Home Assistant users than maybe some other platforms or ecosystems would be.
For the Wi-Fi devices, I think it's great to have a small logo on the box. You can check, all right, this device will work locally with my Home Assistant, because people get confused. They see a cheap 2-YD-based device. Is this going to work? Is it going to steal my credentials, or what is this going to work? And that's great. There's a small logo on the box.
right,
That's
but
the thing I see with like the cheap devices you buy overseas, like the AliExpress, the Banggood, and I don't know, Deal Extreme, whatever. More of those sites where you can buy really cheap smart home devices for like that's just absurd low level. But it's always question: does it work, right?
Yeah.
And I think if they start shipping Matter on those devices, you will at least know that it will work, regardless if we have support for it or not. Like it does matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they will, right? Like there's cheap Zigbee devices available, and so the chipset that is used in a lot of these devices, like Espressif or Nordic, all these manufacturers are actually contributing drivers or like firmware for their devices to the open source Matter SDK, right? Like those devices I showed earlier that you can install on the ESP32. Well, that same source code is from the Matter SDK, right? So that same source code is going to end up on your light bulb in like 6 months or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, like your mesh network is like important, right? So Thread is faster than Zigbee because there's like a handshake that they skip. They just start talking, and of course, Thread border routers going over Wi-Fi. So it can be that like, you know, if everything works out, you're gonna end up maybe with like a Thread border router in every room. You know, something like this, and so then your mesh network. Your Thread network might be more reliable than your Zigbee or Z-Wave network. But it also depends on what kind of mansion you're living versus like my 3-bedroom apartment for which it will never matter.
Oh, matter. I just like had a laugh. Like somebody in a chat, like the protocol, the name of the protocol is rewriting the SEO game for people. Like how
Try
did
searching.
they come out?
Try searching for Matter.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I'm still amazed that like it was called Chip, which I already found like a bit hard to search for. So they renamed it to Matter, which is way easier to
something
find.
which is even harder. Yeah.
I think the thing is you don't search for Matter, you come across devices and see that they have Matter. I think it will be the other way around.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
when
probably.
you see a Matter logo, there is going to be either a Wi-Fi or a Thread logo next to it, right? So you need to, it's not just like, oh, I have, like, no, the new Apple TV. So Apple released a new generation of Apple TV. They have a cheaper and a more expensive version. The difference is $20. And the difference is Thread and Ethernet. So if you buy the cheaper Apple TV, you do not have Thread. And so you might see a Matter logo, think that you need an Apple TV, and then it doesn't work. So years
This is
of
good. Years, yeah, and lots of confusion.
yeah. So all right. Anything else about Matter?
Anything else that matters?
I see a question popping up a few times in the comments, like people are asking, should I join my U-bridge now to Matter? And the answer is no, you should not. And there are two reasons, because the U-bridge device support is like a bit fragile at this point in the first implementation, but even then you shouldn't, because the local support for the U-bridge is even better than Matter. Like you Signify is committed to local API support, and they will always have a better experience than the Matter support. But if you don't have any devices, I really suggest you to pick an ESP32 and use that to experiment with Matter.
Yes, or wait a bit and get a Wisp bulb. Those are like for sale everywhere. Right?
Yeah. And if you buy one now and check for the Bluetooth logo, those will be Matter certified. They will have an over-the-air update. So if you buy a Wiz light or a power plug and you see the Bluetooth logo on it, they will be commissionable over with Matter.
Yeah,
they will receive an update like in January. Yeah, they're a bit expired because all manufacturers are trying to get certified, but there's like a long line of waiting.
A queue.
And yeah, and it will be January or February, but they will get the Matter update if you buy them now. So, and I think most devices will have that. Eve also launched some devices. They're more
Eve,
Apple-minded. But
Eve should get firmware update next week, the 12th.
Yeah.
I was just getting my Eve box. Like, if you want a thread device that is super expensive for like features that do not per se require thread, you can get this light switch. Like it's $50 or like 55 euros. Like, it is probably the most expensive. Well, I bought a Belkin Remo Insight switch like 8 years ago. It comes close to.
You mentioned that thing a couple of days ago, and I was like, I looked it up, and it was like $50 for like a wall plug. I'm going.
Yeah, I bought one of those a few weeks ago just to get the Matter update also, and I was like, whoa, this is expensive.
Yeah.
It's funny because like if you don't have a Thread Apple device right now, like a HomePod, it only connects over Bluetooth, so it's also pretty damn slow. Like,
I bought a HomePod at the same time. Just to test it.
Yeah.
Well, that's even more expensive than $50 for one plug.
I'm all in now.
Cool. Is there any last Matter questions? I see a question about manual commissioning, but I don't but I don't understand it. You always need to pair with Matter. There always needs to be an exchange of keys.
Yeah, security keys.
All right. Well, good. That's it for Matter. Boom, boom. We haven't shown a demo, by the way, and that's because the demo will be like, you see a text box, we put in a code, and then a device shows up that just in Home Assistant, right? Like, it doesn't look anything different. So if you want to see some Matter demos, definitely check out our Matter workshop from last June, because the functionality is the same, which is like you put in a QR code, text, and then it pairs. All right.
I dropped the link to the workshop in the various chats right now. So
nice. Cool. All right.
Release back. Shall we talk about the next subject? This is going really well, by the way. We're a half hour in. We got subject 1 covered.
What should we cover first?
I got something visual that's lined up in the next one. So maybe we should just do that. Like, this one can be done like pretty quick. It looks neat.
Okay. So we should add your screen? Oh,
sorry. Oh, we did both it.
Yeah. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
It's okay. Tile card gets new features. It's cool. It's really cool. The name is a bit confusing to explain that's a new feature because it's called a feature. But it's kind of... No, not UC. Sorry, I got my phone on for some reasons. But the tile card got features, which is called features. So you can add additional extra features to the tile card, which was added last release. So this release, we now have features that add controls to a card. So if you have like a light in a card, you can add a slider. And if you have curtains, it will be controls for the curtains to open and close them. And for the vacuum cleaner, you can send it out and like make it shout, "I'm here," in case of my Xiaomi one, which always like makes the kids scared. So that's great.
Yeah, I think this is like we showed. In case you missed it, last month was the State of the Open Home. We shared a UI vision of what we're kind of working towards. This is part of that, and these features we don't expect them to be in the default dashboard, but we definitely get people will put them in their tablet-based dashboard, for example, or more on desktop. These kind of things. But yeah, this is part of it. So of course, I know that a lot of people are waiting for like the more bigger overhaul of the dashboard, but we're taking it slowly just because there's a lot of little bit gritty details to flesh out. I think the biggest challenge that we have is that Home Assistant works with everything, and it means your UI needs to be able to work with everything, right? So it sucks. Well, not. I mean, it's great Home Assistant does it, but it sucks from a UI design perspective because it means that we're not always moving as fast as we would like. But we're getting there, and I think that next year will definitely like all be implemented. I mean, we're iterating on it, so that even that vision is still changing, shifting as we are also working on it. So
Baby steps.
baby steps.
Exactly. And if you look closely to these cards in my screen, right, by the way, you will notice some coloring. And that's not just coloring because of like the lighter pink, because my daughter likes it pink. But the curtains also have like a little touch. And that's another change this release. We now have state colors that match the actual state. And this I really like, personally.
Yeah, this is a cool one. This is
Right, so
probably
this-
one of the most popular questions I get asked is how to have the icon change color.
Yeah, so now it does this by default out of the box from Home Assistant. So we have defined or indexed a whole bunch of states we have and assigned a color through them. So if the fan is on, in this case, it's like what is this color? Like a greenish, bluish color. It will get that color each time it's on.
Yeah.
Turquoise, yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. We do not, however, have the fan spinning. I know, like some people like the
Animations.
And it's just so distracting if like one thing is spinning and the other things are not. Then you kind of like, you're constantly looking at your fan.
I kind of like it actually, but it's a bit, I don't know. I think coloring helps a lot with that as well in
Yeah,
general,
definitely.
though. But this has been added for a lot of states, so locks and many places, and that brings us directly to the next item in this release.
Boom, boom,
This
boom.
has not been limited to the tile card. So if you have previously ever have opened the history tab or an entity, opened up an entity, and you see that bar with colors on it with states, and those have been random colors always. But now, since we have colors assigned to states, you can use those same colors in other places. So these will show up in the UI in different places too. And a little nice touch that has been added is that it also shows up in the logbook. So there's a little dot here in each logbook item. And that's not just this logbook, but also the big one. And on other places, there will be dots which match the state's color, which
It will
is
be very
consistently.
nice, to quickly scan through the logbook. You just focus on the color.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the tile card and the new state colors, which I think look beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Where do you want to jump in now? Like,
I know.
we can jump to Nick for some Shelly news, or we can.
What's that? Yeah. Nick is not just Shelly news, right? There's the whole.
No, there's more, but I was just hinting at part of it.
Yeah, I mean, we can do Bluetooth. Are you ready, Nick?
Give me about 5 minutes. I'm still fixing one last thing.
Live demos are the best. let's do another topic on the release list. This is epic. Nice. All right. So another big one, this release, it has been requested for a long time.
This one is crazy.
This one is crazy. And today it dropped. A local calendar. This must be one of the biggest requests we had for a long time. And it's not just some like shady, simple local calendar with a date and a text. It's like a full blown.
RFC 5545.
The man said it.
Yeah, I know. Sadly, had to work with that in a past job. But yeah, no, it's calendaring is crazy hard, and I think that the reason calendaring is crazy hard is because people, nobody wants to just create events. People want to create recurring events, and
Yeah.
recurring events. Once you go down that rabbit hole, it's like a whole standard RFC 5545, and it's not. It can do anything because that's what people want with their calendaring software, and so because it can do anything, it's just a lot. So can you scroll down, Frank, just to show like how the UI looks? I mean, start and no. Okay, do we have recurring in this? Oh, we don't have
No,
recurring.
yes, I do have a second screenshot. Like this is one. Like this is we
Yeah.
can do this, but hey, somebody went all in.
Yes, this is the crazy part. This is why calendaring is hard because we need to come out and support this kind of stuff. But Alan did it.
Alan, you're a hero. Doing this is that's just amazing. That's off.
Yeah. So we had the schedule helper a couple of releases ago. Very simple, very basic, weekly based. And if you want to go more all in, this is the way to go.
But the cool thing about this is built on top the existing calendar entity we already had. So the local calendar is a new integration which leverage those new features in that calendar entity, which means that if you create a calendar, and you can create multiple, by the way, if you create a calendar and you add events to it, and you want to trigger automations with that, that's totally possible with all the existing calendar triggers and conditions and things we added this year. So that's cool. I started creating my birthday calendar, for example, and I now have calendar.birthday entity. That's cool to automate on for a notification in the morning. So
That's nice.
yeah, I think it's cool those features have been added. Like it's built on top something existing. It's not just
I
weird.
wonder if we should add a local calendar by default to Home Assistant now.
Oh.
Just one, just like to show
Now,
off.
what should be in it? The Home Assistant birthday.
Yeah, just the Home Assistant birthday.
Release parties, maybe release dates.
Release. We could maybe we could get in like the release schedule, like something.
Oh,
like
release calendar.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
that'd be cool. Maybe cool ideas. Ideas are being born here live on stream.
Yeah. Hey, I just saw Shay says and released. So I think the release.
No, it's still building the Docker containers.
Oh.
Like publishing it to Docker Hub.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you're running Home Assistant OS and Home Assistant Supervised, you could update now if you want to, but you can hang around here too, by the way. And Docker will take another 10 to 15 minutes.
I like how everybody's like the update is live.
Well,
We're supposed to
that's
us like
yeah, it's about more than 80% of our user base now that could update. So makes sense.
True. Cool. Yeah. No, calendaring is going to be amazing. So that's
Cool. He just did the impossible, which I admire. Looking forward where this goes. I've seen some PRs regarding these new features in combination with Gmail already, like the Google Calendar. That's not in this release, but probably next. That looks great too. So
Yeah. I mean, that's so cool. We've got some cool Google integrations lately, right? Now we have Google Calendar
Yeah.
coming up. We had the Google Sheets one, which I liked a lot. So this is cool.
definitely. How you doing, Nick?
Okay, I think I flashed the correct device with the correct firmware instead of the 7 devices I have connected to the USB dongle here, so I think we're ready to go.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Let's see.
What should we? So let's start talking about what you're going to talk about.
So I am going to show, well, first off, I'm going to show the new Bluetooth adapters for the local adapters. We now can actually detect what chip is on the adapter and what model it is. So in the future, we're going to be able to make better decisions about some of the quirks of specific Bluetooth adapters. And I'm also going to show, we now have a list of, quote, high performance adapters, which are all the ones I've tested that actually work pretty well, because there's such a wide variety of Bluetooth adapters and quality. So some of the drivers are on your Linux are really, really, really bad, and you're going to have a really bad experience if you pick one of those adapters. But if you pick one on the high performance list, it's going to be just night and day better. So I'll go ahead and show that off in a minute. Actually, I'll just kind of jump right in, and then I've got a ESP Home Proxy demo. I've got a little SwitchBot demo. I've got the Shelly demo, and hopefully, if it's working, I'll have a Eve button that's linked over Bluetooth as well. So I'm just gonna
all the demos.
Share that. Hopefully, this sharing works here. So let me go ahead and share a screen. I can find the right window.
If you're in Chrome, you can also share the tab. So what Nick is going to show now is Bluetooth documentation, right, on the Home Assistant website.
Yes. So I've got like 100 tabs up here, so just bear with me a second. Here we go.
You want me to bring it up? I got it. Like I can have it in front of me.
Should be ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got this great list of high performance adapters, and this is the one I'm using right now as my kind of production adapter. It's a very simple CSR chip, and it's actually the only one that I found that comes with an external antenna. So this one's super fast, so I recommend picking one of these up. Anything that has a CSR chip generally is going to offer the best connect times. One of the key issues we keep seeing on on GitHub is my adapter is really slow. It takes forever to connect to my SwitchBot, or it takes forever to update my device. The CSR drivers are awesome on Linux. Pretty much everything else is okay. So you've got the CSRs on this list that are all going to be super fast. You've got the Broadcom chips, the BCM ones here. They're kind of the second fastest. And then coming in third, which is kind of a new addition, is the ESP Home Proxies with firmware 2022.12.0 or later, which is not released, but it is on the Proxy site, which I'll show in a little bit.
Oh, can you zoom in a bit, Nick?
Can I say again?
Can you zoom in a little bit so that like the tab, the text is bigger?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Enhance. So just like this list is on the Home Assistant website, right? So
yes.
It's not.
Yeah, I shared the link.
You see the URL, but it's just on the Bluetooth integration documentation. Check out the high performance adapters. We've got a whole list of kind of all the quirks of every single adapter. And we've also got, if you have one of these Realtek adapters, which seem to be the most common, there's no reset pin on these guys. So if they stop working, they stop working until you probably unplug it and plug it back in. We did introduce in this version a way to do a generic USB reset. We basically turn off the USB and turn it back on, and hopefully the adapter comes back. And that works about 90% of the time. But if you don't want to deal with unreliable, I just recommend picking up one on the high performance list, because they just keep working and you're not going to have to worry about that. So the interesting thing is the Linux drivers, most of the good drivers are for the Bluetooth 4 adapters, and anything that's Bluetooth 5 is not so great yet. I'm sure it'll get better, but kernel development doesn't happen super fast, and it takes a year or so for us to get a new kernel. So stick with one on the high performance list. I'm sure they'll get better in the future, but if you want a good experience now, definitely pick one off this list. So I'll show. This is a blue that I have set up, and now I've got the Bluetooth adapter here, and we're now able to kind of detect. And I'll make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. You can now see the model and make of the adapter. So when you guys submit diagnostics, we'll know, I'm having, trouble with adapter X. We'll probably be able to provide better details about which adapters work well and which adapters don't. The current list is great, but we can always improve it some more. And something new in this version is you can now turn on debug logging right from the integration screen. So if I want to know what's going on with my Bluetooth, I can just go ahead and I already have it turned on. So if I want to know here, let's say with my little Gobi device, I can say enable debug logging. It's going to start logging everything that's going on with the integration. And then I'll go reproduce the issue, break whatever's happening, make it happen again. And then I can go disable debug logging, and right away I get a download of the log. So really easy to make an issue. No guesses on which logger do I have to configure. One of the problems we saw all the time was someone would open a GitHub issue, and the first question was, well, how do I get debug logs, or how do I know which debuggers I need to turn on, or which logs I need to run, or so it kind of takes all the guesswork out of that, and you get your log very quickly. Of course, we've also kind of updated the Bluetooth diagnostics. So if you've got a problem with anything Bluetooth, definitely include some diagnostics for the Bluetooth integration as well, because it's got a list of all the discoveries and everything kind of going on. So we'll know very quickly if there's, what the issue is. It'll really help us. So thank you. So I want to go ahead and show the ESP Home proxies now. If you guys aren't familiar with this, hopefully this is coming up correctly. Yep. All right, I'll make it a little bigger. So a couple months ago, we added support for remote Bluetooth adapters, and ESP Home is the first one to get them. So this site has been updated just right before we started this stream, and you've now got a beta build of 22.12 on here, which has significantly better Bluetooth performance. We spent a lot of time reworking the Bluetooth stack for this release. It's just much faster. So if you haven't flashed recently, go ahead and go to the site, reflash your device, and you'll need of course the new version of Home Assistant that just came out today as well. But working together, it's going to be a much faster connection experience, and just overall so much better. Jesse put a lot of work into upgrading the IDF, which is kind of the framework that runs all these ESP chips. So that made a huge difference. And then once we had that, we were able to really optimize it. So if you used it before, had a experience wasn't so great, it is just night and day better now. So
yeah, one thing to note is if you have installed it from this website, you can actually update from the ESP Home dashboard. You don't have to go back to this website. So over-the-air updates from ESP Home. Right now, you will need to beta add-on because the dev add-on hasn't been updated with the very latest yet, and I think it's not released yet. So the beta add-on is the one to take right now.
So
updates.
If you guys haven't seen this before, it's pretty simple. Connect. Hopefully this is going to work. Live demos are awesome. So, and I can just say I have it already plugged into my USB port. I have that specific device, and I'm just going to hit install. It's going to prepare my proxy, erase it, and if everything goes well, I will shortly have it show up on my instance.
Boom, boom. It's so weird that when you screen share, we do not see your port picker, right? Like that somehow is like outside of this Windows ownership or something. So the screen sharing never shows it.
Well, hopefully I picked the right port because I have 7 different things connected to this. So that was why I was taking a minute to prep the demo, because I had flashed. I think I overwrote the OS on the Shelly that I'm going to show in a minute. I had to go reflash it back to Shelly. So.
I'm just gonna, while we're waiting, just showing this question. How about if BT proxy is part of another ESP home config? That just works, right? Like a Bluetooth proxy in ESP home, it's just a component. So you can actually add other things also to your ESP home config. However, you can run out of memory, right? Like these are very small microcontrollers. Bluetooth takes up a lot of memory, it takes up a lot of processing power. The one thing that is especially known to run out, which is also very memory intensive and starts to conflict and fight about memory, is the local web server. So ESP-Home has this local web server where you can see real time the data instead of like going through Home Assistant. It is not recommended to put that on the same configuration. But given that the Bluetooth proxy is meant for Home Assistant, your web server is not necessary because you can just see the data in Home Assistant.
So yeah, also in the new version of ESP Home, currently in beta, it's going to be released in a week. There's support for using the IDF over. So if you have the old configuration, switch your platform to the IDF because you'll save about 50K of RAM. And all these that I just flashed are using the IDF instead. All right, so that should have just worked. I'll hit logs. Let's see if we can see logs. Maybe not.
Reset device, I guess, because it's already.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the Oli Max is that it's using Ethernet, power over Ethernet, so it's there's no Wi-Fi to configure. Yes,
so it makes it super easy. So if that all went well, I'm gonna find the right one, and it actually just showed up. So it's already discovered, already ready to go. I'm not gonna hit the button yet because I want to swap over and do the Shelly demo, and then we're gonna come back and do that. And since I'm already here, so this is the dev board from Shelly, and so I can go ahead and configure it. And you need to have Shelly firmware 0.12 or later. But as soon as you do, just flash the firmware, and this will be able to show up as a configuration option. So I can go ahead and turn on the scanner, active, and you can see right away it's starting to discover devices. So I've got a SwitchBot contact sensor somewhere around the house, and it's already starting to pick up things.
So let me really quick interrupt you there. What this release adds is we now have Bluetooth proxy support via Shelly devices with the original like stock firmware, right?
Right. Yes. So Shelly, the new Shelly devices are ESP32 based. You need to have a Shelly. It's called Plus, I think. So you have the Shelly 1 Plus, the Shelly 4 Plus, etc. And they have a small scripting language, and we have actually worked with the Shelly engineers, or Nick has, to have this available. So it's actually, well, I mean, Nick, you can probably better explain it, what's going on here.
So when you start the Shelly integration up and configure it, it's going to upload this little script, and this script is going to basically just start a Bluetooth scan and feed the data back into Home Assistant. So it just becomes another Bluetooth system to get data right into Home Assistant. So whether it's ESP Home, your local adapter, or the Shelly, it's all the same to Home Assistant. You're getting the data fed in from the scanner. So all your devices will just start showing up. So, and you've got the option to, go back over here and wrong one, there we go. You can also say, if you want to change it to a passive scan, I'm gonna hit this button. It's gonna go and back to the Shelly OS over here, and it has already uploaded a new script. And you can see it changed the script on the Shelly from active true to active false, restarted the script, and your Shelly is up and running and scanning with a passive scan.
What we're looking at, by the way, here, this is the web interface hosted by Shelly, right? So these are the scripts that are running on your Shelly device, but this one is managed by Home Assistant.
Yes. So this is what I'm showing here, and yes, Paul is doing a better job of explaining that. I jumped over to the actual web interface on the Shelly and went into scripts. So the difference between the active scan and the passive scan is the active scan is constantly sending out requests for every Bluetooth device in range asking for advertisement data. So it's going to take a little more battery usage. We did some testing on it. Some devices, it's about 6% battery drain faster. Depending on the device and how fast and how frequently it responds, it obviously can vary quite a bit. But generally, as long as you don't have tons of active scanners around your house, 1 or 2 probably isn't going to make much difference with the battery life. But if every proxy you have is active, that might be a problem.
Yeah. I want to just quickly pause you there because there's a question where I think is nice. Do you still need a Bluetooth adapter or can you use the Shelly device over the Wi-Fi?
So the Shelly device will give you advertisement data. So anything that doesn't require an active connection will work with the Shelly device. But if you need to, like say a HomeKit device or maybe like a lock or something that's going to need a connection, you're going to need still either a Bluetooth adapter or ESP Home 2022.12.x or later.
Boom, boom. And then I just saw that the Shelly 0.12 firmware was released yesterday, so they did it just in time for our release. That's nice.
So I didn't intentionally didn't turn on this proxy we flashed earlier because I've got a couple things in range, and you notice it's only discovering things that don't require an active connection. As soon as I hit configure on the proxy I just flashed, I should get a couple more devices discovered, hopefully. There we go. So the switch bots require an active connection, so they weren't discovered until I enabled the ESP Home proxy, which has the active connection support. But I can go ahead and configure these switch bots.
Oh, that's what's wrong. I couldn't find my switch bot. I have one here. I was just trying to set it up as like a backup for your demo, which would have been nowhere near as cool as this. But now I know why they didn't show up.
So it's also discovering some locks. If you have the August integration, if I reload this, it should feed the keys for those locks into those. Yeah, there we go. So, and now I can go ahead and this will take a minute because it's got to go probe the lock and everything. But this was the lock I showed. I think it was a couple versions ago. Same lock, but now it's connecting over the ESP Home proxy because there's no Bluetooth is turned off on my local computer here, and it's going to go ahead and reach out, probe the lock. It's already got the keys from the August integration, and it's going to set it up. And in theory, it takes about 30 to 40 seconds for this transaction to actually happen. But I'll be able to use this board, which is, I'm going to try to lift it up without disconnecting it. I don't know if you guys can see it here. So now I'm going to talk over this board that's just happens to be sitting on my desk. It could be sitting anywhere in the house right now.
I can show, this is the Olimax. I have one here. It's a really cool board because it has power over Ethernet and it has an ESP chip. So, you just plug it in anywhere you have power over Ethernet, boom, Bluetooth extension.
Okay, so that's taking a while to set up. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over, and we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm going to go to this one. So I've got all the switch bots, and I'm going to try to lift them up. And so I've got a couple proxies already configured around the house. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there was an earlier question of, can I reflash my ESP Home device to just add a proxy? So I have a TV that in the master bedroom that I just went ahead and added the proxy to. And I'm monitoring the free memory because we spent a lot of time optimizing to reduce the memory usage. So this device is not a dedicated proxy, but it happens to power our TV cabinet. And I just went ahead and added the Bluetooth proxy to it. But I don't recommend doing that unless you're using the IDF because it is pretty memory intensive. So
all new ESP configurations should use the IDF, right? If people update their proxies, it should also be IDF based.
I mean, honestly, everything I have since because the November release didn't support Ethernet with the IDF, you couldn't do it until the new one that's coming out next week. But I've updated everything I have that has Ethernet support to use the new IDF, which is, and it just cuts 50K worth of RAM off of everything. So
yeah. So we're getting a question of Petro. It's getting pretty deep, but how much free memory should we be at? He's sitting at 60,000.
So here's a little graph, and I'll make this bigger, maybe. Hopefully you guys can see that. So I'm tracking all the memory usage, and you can see when I make Bluetooth connections how much it drops down. So you're going to figure probably you need 50 or 60K to do active connections. So if you have only 60K free and you start doing active connections, your ESP is going to crash pretty quick. So definitely make sure you have about 150 free before you start using Bluetooth. I mean, even you can get away with 110 and you're probably still fine. You still have enough buffer.
I just, another thing, somebody's asking what does IDF mean? And basically for ESP chips, this is getting very technical. There are two kind of frameworks to, like, you know, kind of the Linux version of what runs on your microcontroller. And IDF is like the foundational one, and then Arduino sits on top. And actually also uses IDF under the hood. So basically, we've removed, by going directly to IDF, it's you're basically removing one step of abstraction layer, and that just really removes a lot of like memory and like objects, and like everything is faster and stuff. And then we've also updated that layer, so that's also where a lot of benefit is coming from.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to this guy here, and hopefully you can see a little switch bot, and I'm gonna try to do this while holding the switch bot. I'm gonna hit the button, maybe, no, I'm gonna hit the button and hit the button, there we go. And in theory, there we go. So that is using the proxy, and I got the next one.
Proxy. Is it
These are all going over the proxy, and I don't think I got the, did I get the button? No, I took the wrong one up. So it was this one. There we go. Yeah. So, but if you tried it before, with the November release, it could take 30, sometimes 40 seconds to make the connection. But now it's pretty much instant. Usually about 2 or 3 seconds. So much faster, and you can move the switch bot all around the house as long as there's a proxy in range. It should just magically work. We have high availability and kind of failover built into the proxies. So as soon as one goes offline, Home Assistant's going to detect that, kick it out, and it'll find the one with the next best signal to get you there. And if you don't have Ethernet, before this release, it was not a great experience, but now I'm going to show this guy off. This is the M5 Stack Lite, Atom Lite, and they work as a really great option for a proxy if you can't get Ethernet to it. They're with the December release here that's coming up, they're much faster. You're probably going to take 4 seconds to connect to your switch bot instead of 3 seconds with Ethernet. So, but completely viable option now. But make sure you're updated, because before it was, 30, 40, sometimes with the Wi-Fi ones, it didn't even connect at all. So definitely a major improvement there. So I think that's it for the Bluetooth stuff. Oh wait, I've got one more thing. I've got one last thing. So
one more thing. What is?
So
that sentence like sets high expectations.
This is an Eve button. Got it connected, paired via HomeKit, and if I did it correctly, I just set it up. I should hit the button, and the light should turn out. So, and there we go. And hit it again, lights turn back on. So, very fast response time on the HomeKit devices now. So anything that's broadcasting the state or doing HomeKit advertisements is picked up really quick. And that was all using proxies, no local adapters. So, and we got a question about the Yale lock. Let's take a peek. Oh, it's all done. So I've now got my EL lock all over using the proxy. This is the one I just flashed. So I should hit unlock. And if everything works, it should unlock. There we go. I don't know if you guys heard it. It's kind of sitting on the other side of the room. And all goes well. I'll hit lock and it should lock. About 3 to 4 seconds for that to happen. The first connection will take a little bit longer because it's got to resolve the services list. But once it's done, it's it's much faster. So we've added caching on the Home Assistant side. So when you make your first connection, it saves all the services in memory in Home Assistant, so it can wipe the services list from the ESP and save tons of memory, which makes everything so much more reliable.
That's awesome. Yeah, so much work has gone into Bluetooth, in case you haven't realized it yet, and it's like so much faster now. I think that especially the 3 connection, going from 1 to 3 connection is the biggest like change. Like that required a lot of optimizations because, well, ESPs just don't have a lot of space. But it's kind of wild that you can buy a $10 device or less than $10 or euros or whatever, and like it just proxies Bluetooth for you, right? Like you put it anywhere in your house and it just works. Like it's really cool.
So I guess I can give you a quick demo. I've got this guy I showed earlier, which is the M5 stack, but he's not plugged in, so hold on. It's not gonna work. Okay, now he's plugged in. Let's see if it'll work now. All right, this guy, oh, there we go. So it actually did set up. That was me plugging it into USB to power it. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this guy. And then I'm gonna try and unlock my lock again. And hopefully it's gonna just magically fail over to this guy here since I deleted the other one. And there we go, the lock's unlocked.
It did.
So.
That's
It's
amazing.
a leftover from Halloween, that lock around.
Yeah, anything that's a test device, I usually just write zombie on it so I know that it's not. So, and hopefully I've already got this guy. This is the, I don't know, hopefully you guys can see this. This sensor is, try to turn it this way without, there we go. This guy, that was failing over to that new Wi-Fi one, this guy. So it's getting the state from this guy and not from the other one I flashed earlier that I just deleted. So very quickly, it should fail between adapters. You shouldn't even notice anything getting dropped if one of your adapters goes offline and it ends up going to another one. So there was a lot of work to make that failover work correctly now. So it's definitely again a much better experience with this release.
So I guess
that's it.
The last question here is like, is Bluetooth done?
Is it done? Well, no software is ever done. Software just gets abandoned. It's never, so there's always more. But is it stable and ready for production? Yes, this is the first version. I would say like I would use the proxies in production. In fact, I ripped out all the local adapters that I had over USB to Ethernet and replaced them with the Bluetooth proxies using ESP Home. So, and that's now my production setup. So you can be sure that it works now. So
Awesome.
The home is never done. So the project Home Assistant has a perfect name.
Yes. Well, there's still, no, I have some plans, like we've talked about it before, Frank and I. We want to get improv Wi-Fi working over Bluetooth proxies. So the moment you plug in a device that has improv Wi-Fi over Bluetooth, it will immediately ask, hey, we found a new device, do you want to set it up?
From within Home Assistant.
Devices, yeah, and then configure to Wi-Fi, and then it gets onto your network, and then you can set it up. And one of those devices that is launching with improv Wi-Fi, and this is a great segue into Lewis.
Bam.
Boom. Because Lewis is launching a ESP Home device. Well, he has launched an ESP Home based device called EP1, which I guess stands for Everything Smart Home Presence 1.
Yeah, Everything Presence 1. So it's this one. I don't know.
Focus. Yes. There it is.
I'm
Can
just
you
gonna
show-
very quick. 1 second. Oh, this. What are we looking at?
What a beautiful
So
board.
this one's actually a little bit different to the final one. There'll be like some more headers up at the top here. So yeah, this is basically some custom hardware that runs a millimeter wave sensor. So that's this unit over here for presence detection.
Is it just headers that you can just plug into the other board?
Yeah, so they still so the problem with this board is that it's double-sided, so there's components on both sides, so you can't really sit it flat,
Wait, but
which is kind of annoying.
before we're diving really deep, really fast.
So
What is it?
Yeah, it's a sensor for presence detection. So it runs ESP Home, like you just mentioned, and it's for detecting presence in rooms that you may not move around in so much. So the problem with a regular motion sensor is that when you sit still, like in an office or a living room or something like that, your lights turn off.
Toilet,
because
number 2.
there's no motion. Yeah, or toilet. So yeah, that's where the millimeter wave comes in. Is it's really good at detecting tiny movements. So breathing or just like tiny little head movements like this that would otherwise be missed by a regular motion sensor. So yeah, we have the millimeter wave on there, and then we also combine that with a regular PIR, which also just slots right onto the middle of the board, and it's totally removable. You can just take it off and plug it back in. So we wanted to make something that was that you could replace components on if you wanted to. And the kind of advantage of that is to have the sort of instant detection of a regular PIR, so you get really fast lightning responses, and it also works at like a 12-meter range, so really good. And then you also get that combined with the millimeter wave detection, so the really tiny movements. So you get kind of the best of both worlds by having both of those together. And then we also chucked on a light sensor. So that's something I've always wanted, was a light illuminance sensor, so that you can use in automations to detect if it's dark enough to actually turn on lights, or if it's too bright, then no need to turn on. So instead of relying on things like sun positioning or that type of thing. And we also added a temperature and humidity sensor on here too, so you can have kind of everything in sort of one. Yeah, basically the device I always kind of wanted. And so yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, is this where your YouTube handle comes from?
No, I think it's the other way around, maybe. So yeah, no, we
just
where
ask just a question, right? You're not selling those boards, right? You're not going to ship just boards.
No, so
right?
we're shipping everything. So we also have a case. I don't actually have one here, but we have a case for this sensor to actually sit inside. It was quite a nice case designed by somebody in the Home Assistant community. So he designed the case, and then we also send out the sensors and the PIR along with it. So everything you need, basically, you just plug it into USB-C on the bottom, and kind of connect it up to Home Assistant using ESP Home and sort of the improv procedure that you described there.
Nice. And so you've been selling these, but they're not available anymore, right? Like
yeah. So we back in October we had 2,000 units, and those kind of sold in the first 3 days. It was like two and a half days, which was crazy. And then we just received a shipment for these last week, and we've kind of been preparing and flashing, testing all 2,000 boards.
So you have your own sweatshop.
Pretty much, yeah. There's just people
You do that
working
yourself?
in there. Yeah. We tested all 2000, so flashed and tested all 2000.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it was about. So you get them in like little pallets. They've got like 120 of these in each one, and we were able to get through one pallet, so 120 boards in 40 minutes. So it was like
Not
it's
bad.
like 16 hours of flashing. Yeah, just straight.
I'm assuming you made some helper tools to like flash for you, right?
Yeah, so we had so we made up another custom sort of PCB that just clips straight onto this one. So you just slide it on. And then I did a basic Python script. You'd be really proud.
The core.
What's that?
You can join the core development team. Then.
Yeah, I'll put it in a PR soon. But no, it just basically, so we had like USB hubs that could take 10 boards each. So we were just plugging in 10 boards and then hit a button and it would flash on test firmware. And then that would test all of the GPIOs. And actually, so that was also using ESP Home. So that would get a reading from the temperature sensor, get a reading from the light sensor, make sure they were actually working, and then test all the GPIOs. And then once that was done, it would flash on the production firmware.
Nice. What's your failure rate?
We had 2,500 boards we tested, and there was like 7 that were bad. And one of them was just like a little solder bridge between 2 pins, so that's fixable. And then the other 2 would. The other 5 or 6 would fail like 50% through flashing, so they turn on and everything. It's just I don't know. So, but yeah, really good failure rate.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
We have this the tag reader on the Home Assistant website. It's like an ESP home-based tag reader that Adorno makes.
Yeah.
Launched it like, how was it, 3 years ago, 4 years? It's been a while. I think it's 3 years maybe by now. But anyway, when Adorno launched this, he didn't have a PCB made. So instead, he got like, I don't remember how many, like hundreds of orders. But he had to solder them.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So no, you definitely have like
Yeah.
up here. That's 16 hours is not that bad. I mean,
No.
could you you gonna like keep doing that yourself? I mean, I think you just sold another 2,500 today, right?
Yeah, we sold. So we put up a wave 2 this morning at 11:15, and so under 3 hours, all 2,000 were sold again. And then I added another 500, and then they all sold, and then I think we're up to like 3,500, but that's on another wave now. So yeah, they're going.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
That's
was-
yeah.
I'm
Well,
just posting a link to the sensor in the chat right now, so everybody can find the Everything Presence 1, as it's the full title, as I just learned.
Yeah, and I didn't even. It wasn't until like like the day after we launched it, I was like, that EP1 is really close to the FP1 from Akara, which is their millimeter wave sensor. I didn't. It's like total coincidence.
yeah, no, it's cool. I should probably get one.
I'll send you one.
Wave three.
We have a couple of review units actually left, so no, definitely I can send one over.
And it's what's very cool about EP1 is that it's made for ESP Home, so it has the badge, and it will be works with Home Assistant too.
Yeah. So that was the most important thing. I wanted to make some hardware for people that use Home Assistant. So yeah, it was really good. And the ESP Home procedure just makes it so easy for people to install.
Right, and keep up to date. I think is also nice, right? Like we've getting update buttons in your ESP Home dashboard, installing the latest EP1 firmware.
Yeah, it's so
Right,
easy.
that
Now.
Awesome.
That makes the improv of a Bluetooth in the Home Assistant itself would be like completing that part, I guess. That's awesome.
Right.
cool. Can I like what's inside it? Is ESP32 or
ESP32, yeah.
86?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you can do all the Bluetooth proxy stuff as well.
Wow.
So yeah,
How's
we'll need to
the
get them updated to the latest version.
right? I was about to say, how's the memory? Memory level?
Yeah, I haven't actually checked. I'll need to check.
Yeah,
We'll have to
make
get
sure
them
you switch it to
updated.
use the IDF.
Yeah.
So here Jesse is telling me that Jesse is Jesse Hills. He is the lead developer of ESP Home. So he's gonna like probably help you play with it and see if you can push that proxy.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Cool.
Is there coming a third wave then?
Yeah, we just added a third wave today.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the first one just sold out so fast. I was not
Are you,
expecting it at all.
are you gonna quit your job and do this full time?
Maybe soon.
You know, I think that like YouTube influencer / hardware manufacturer is kind of a cool title.
Yeah. There's definitely some other hardware stuff that we want to make as well. So yeah, it'd be cool.
Awesome.
Once you go into this rabbit hole, then you start to make everything you ever wanted, right? Like that's cool about ESP Home in general. You can just DIY everything you want, right? But making it a product in that case, respect for that. That's cool.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Are we? Should we go back to the release notes?
Oh right, we had a release today.
No, I mean, did we cover everything?
No.
Well, we have
There's more. Wait, there's more.
boom, 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 boom.
Can you add my screen back, or should I?
Yeah, I'll do it. New entity.
New entity. This is so where to start? Okay, we have a new entity. It's the text entity, and it's basically a text. This is I don't know. But if you know the input helper, the text helper, that's an entity you create. Like you can create your own text input helper. And now we have an entity that integrations can raise. So integrations cannot create helpers, but integrations can create entities. So this is the counterpart for integrations to use. It basically shows a little text box, which you can set a message, for example, on an integration. And yeah, that's it. It's a really simple, small entity which you can automate with. And it's currently supported by KNX and MQTT.
Right. The free-for-all integrations.
Yes. Well, I believe KNX has this little like display you can put in rooms, a little bit like the Sonoff displays, but then for KNX. So you could like make text entities for it and change the text on the display. And I believe maybe for the future, it could be useful for the unified doorbells have, I believe, a little text thing on them. So that could be like a viable entity maybe in the future to change the text based on the day, like good morning, good afternoon, or whatever. So it could be nice. Yep. The text entity. Not too big. Still nice. It's added.
Covering entities. This is I like this one. I think that like it's just like one of those things that like people used to do in templates all the time. And now it's just like, so
exactly.
what does it do? It's a new helper. You give it a name. You select which entities you want to do. Then you say how they should be aggregated. How should they be collected? Is it a sum? Do you want to subtract it? Do you want the average, the lowest, the max? Give the precision, and that's it.
Boom.
Boom. Yeah. So, for example, in the Netherlands, if you have a P1 reader for your electricity, it will actually give you two different energy meter usages, one per tariff,
Yeah.
low tariff, high tariff. So now you can easily create a total, for example.
Yeah, that's exactly what the screenshot does, and what I have in my case. I have two counters for two different tariffs, so I cannot combine them without a template. You used to have to make a template to add two things together, two entities. So small, but helpful. This thing might be a little bit familiar for some. If you ever use the min-max helper, it looks very familiar. That's because this is the min-max helper. It used to be the min-max helper, but because we're adding more ways to calculate in it, we renamed it to combine the state of several sensors. And it now includes summing too. Because, well, the name min or max just didn't justify its capabilities anymore. Yeah.
It's a nice one. Nice little tweak.
Yes. All right. Some other noteworthy stuff. Country and language is now in Home Assistant. So if you upgrade, you will get like a country repair warning.
Right.
Could
These
you?
things were driven by Matter and by voice. So for
Yeah.
Matter, we need to, during commissioning, you send the country over to the device that is being commissioned, and it will adjust like maybe some settings per device that can be dependent. But you know how like radio frequency spectrum and stuff can differ per country. So that kind of is what this does. In Matter world, language very important because we're going to do voice, and so until now, Home Assistant had not a language setting on the backend. It was only the front end per user. And so by setting a generic backend language, anything user facing that we now generate in the backend will be translatable. So think of voice, of course, text to speech, but also notifications, maybe blueprints can use it, these kind of things. So until now, a lot of these things, like even though the front end was all in your local language, it would still, like, you would see English some places just because we couldn't translate it. That should all be solved now. So you should be able to, get a better experience.
So this is not done yet, right? This is just the settings that has been added this release. We're not using them as much yet, but there are a large scale of use cases. Actually, we could like improve little things around the project with this information. So we're adding it in now so that if we start rolling out features for it, like these things will be set. Another nice thing, for example, for country is like default units of measurement. I believe for Canada or Sweden, I believe they have different units for wind speed than other countries. So if we know that, then we can just like by default set the wind speed in the unit of measurements you would expect if you live in those countries, right?
It is getting a
So
bit
it's gonna,
wild now. During onboarding, where it's like, what is your
yeah,
language, your country, your
it's
everything?
good that we're local and private, right? But if this was
Yeah,
Google,
yeah.
then
Okay, we know. Yeah.
yeah. All right, just in time for Christmas, Twinkly. If you have like a Twinkly, I got one. So pretty nice. If you have those twinkly lights in your tree, you can now select the effect. So it's just in time for the Christmas period, right? I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Shelly
Oh,
and MQTT are plotting them now, which is great. They're now the best level integration or the highest level quality level of an integration they can get. So that's good.
yeah. Pet feeder, Akara pet feeder
Oh,
supported. It's it's not really a Zigbee device. Like it's just like the classic Tuya/Akara approach, where like they use Zigbee, but then they actually the data format is completely custom. Thankfully to Kira Vuya, who has reverse engineered it, and so we are able to control pet feeders now too, which is good because I don't think we had those in the list yet.
yeah. I talked to Phil. It's I must be clear. It feeds your cat. It does not feed off your pet. That's the other way around. So it was a question somewhere. It's amazing. Somebody asked.
BT
All
Home
right.
I think it'd be interesting for people that are, working on Bluetooth-based devices, DIY stuff. Like Bluetooth devices can do a lot longer with battery than Wi-Fi. With the new BT Home version, we have an official registered Bluetooth service ID with the Bluetooth Alliance, and it's even better now. So definitely check it out. Version 1 remains compatible, but version 2 is definitely the way to go for all new devices.
Awesome. Also, new integrations this release. Local calendar, matter, and text have been discussed, of course. And some BLE devices like this is CO2 sensoring from Sensirion, I believe. And the other ones I'm personally not really familiar with.
Right. Yeah. Things,
Things, Roofy tags, air quality meter.
Yeah.
Push bullet and scrape went through the UI. Scrape being, sorry?
Scrape is an interesting one, right? Because that's web
That
scraping.
thing is huge. Yes. And it's a huge one. Like it has tons of options. So that thing moving to the UI is a big step. Scraping, however, is still difficult. You have to know about CSS selectors and all these things.
Yeah.
So even though it moved to the UI, it doesn't necessarily mean it's got easier. You still have to know how like scraping works. But
Right.
it's now available in the UI. And for the last part of this release, breaking changes, there are not too many. Most of them are pretty small. I think the most important one would be the mobile apps. This has to do with the tags fired. If you have tags which you scan on your mobile app or your mobile phone with a mobile app, the device ID changed. It was actually incorrect. It has been fixed, but this means your automations will probably misfire now.
Yeah, this was an annoying one because there was no transition period because we basically passed the wrong value to the tag integration. And so yeah.
There's no way to do this the other way. Yeah. The other big one in this release will be MQTT. MQTT changed format about half a year ago, 6 months ago. Like the old style manual configured, like if you write your own MQTT YAML stuff in the configuration files, that format has changed 6 months ago. We warned the heck out of it. It would have been like a big repairs issue on your dashboard for months already as well. But support for the old star format has been removed after a half year of deprecation. So that's now gone. Something to watch out for if you still do that. If you're using Zigbee to MQTT or any project that automatically gets discovered in Home Assistant over MQTT and automatically creates its entities and such and devices, there's no need to worry. Nothing changes. That still just works as normal. That's all been taken care of. It's only the manual configured ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Like the rest is small. You've seen the list. If it's in it, check it out.
If you use themes, some themes, because of the new coloring options, there need to be more variables that themes need to update if they want to change coloring to themselves. Otherwise, the default colors are being used.
Yeah, that's this little one. If you're a theme developer, check this blog post out. So at the end of the breaking changes, there's always a list of more technical breaking changes that like team developers or custom integration developers should care about. So in this case, if you're a custom team developer, it might be that your theme is not functioning correctly as of this release. Be sure to check out that blog post.
Yeah. Jesse's asking, I'm just gonna go through some questions now. Any plan to allow creating an automation right from the calendar at edit event details dialog? Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we kind of it would be like a show event that we have like a button saying if this calendar or something changes. But yeah, I think there's definitely something we can do there. PR's welcome, Jesse.
Oh,
Oh, we
almost
removed
forgot.
one of the 5,000 Google Chat integrations is no longer working.
Yeah, so Google Chat got removed. It's not because Google Chat doesn't exist anymore, but the APIs, like the connectors we use, the website we talk to underneath in the Home Assistant, is Google Hangouts, and Google Hangouts got shut down. So it was not functioning anymore, so we removed it. But we're open for somebody to actually create maybe a new Google Chat integration. So if you feel like it, go ahead. All right.
Boom.
That's it for the last release.
Small
What do
one.
you guys think?
So
What do you
yeah,
think, Louis?
if you missed the beginning, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, if you missed the beginning of the stream, make sure that Matter is there, Bluetooth is faster, local calendar is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's the gist. Rosemary asking, what's coming in 2023? Whew. So, for the people that watched our State of the Open Home 2022 last month, in it we announced that 2023 is going to be the year of voice. So what does it mean is that we want to have a locally working voice assistant for Home Assistant that is super easy to use and works in every language. Sounds simple, right? So basically the Raspberry is an open source project that has been trying to do this for a while. It's being led by Mike Hansen, and Mike Hansen has joined Nabukasa, and he is already working on steps to make this a reality. So we're having some plans. We're not ready yet to really talk about it in today. I think that probably next week or maybe the week after, just before the holidays, we kind of want to have like a dedicated voice event, kind of talking, laying out our plans. We have like a nice idea about how in steps we're going to roll this out. So it will be really cool. It will also be like, just to reduce expectations. We're not going to be like a $30 Google Home Mini equivalent, right? Because the kind of technology that they have and the kind of AI that they have, that is kind of way out of scope of what we can do. So we're definitely going to focus local, locally voice assistant, focus on the IoT domain and integrations that work in Home Assistant, and it's going to be cool. So, yeah, and what Jesse's saying, I better start an ESP Home microphone support. Probably, yeah.
Do we now get a voice proxy? Oh,
Yeah.
that would be like a satellite thing,
Mike's
right?
also in the chat. He's watching. But yeah, we're gonna have there's a good plan, and we're gonna talk about the plan soon. So
Expect, and it's like, are we going to see like, can we expect like something about it, like a blog or a stream, or are we going
yeah,
to
so it
like?
will be a stream, I think. So I think we're gonna put up a blog post to announce a stream. I think-
Cool. Oh, so both. Ah.
Yeah, yeah, put it on Facebook now. But like we'll do a stream about it. Show some. I think we can already show some demos. Hopefully, then when we are like. But I think the biggest challenge for Home Assistant is that we want it to not be English, right? There's enough work being done on English. We want to make sure Home Assistant's language is in every language available, or like a lot of languages, and we want those languages also be able to use voice. So with Home Assistant, we want privacy, local home automation available for everyone. That includes voice. So we're going to make sure that our goal, really like our priority, is like, how do we build an infrastructure that supports every language? That's like our first step. And then like basically other things are deprioritized because of that. But it means that like smaller scope, more languages.
Baby steps. Well, this is not really small. All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be. This is going to be an exciting year again. Like this year was, looking back at it, this year was just insane. Again, again, right? But still. Oh, good to mention, by the way. This year we did 11 releases, by the way. So this 0.12 release is actually the 11th release because we skipped 0.1 January. We will not be skipping it this time, so there will be a January release coming, like right in the new year.
That'll be cool.
Yes,
Generally, the January releases are a bit smaller, but
yeah.
actually, because we are also taking a break, or should take a break. I mean, I don't think so.
The thing is, we should take a break and we start doing like things we personally care about often, and then like still new stuff shows up. So
No, definitely. Cool.
Louis, do you have big plans for the new year?
I've got a lot of sensors to ship. So I think I'll probably be working on that for at least the first half a year, maybe. But no, there's some other hardware that we want to do, and yeah, so maybe an ESP microphone or something. That would be cool.
Yeah, the suggestion came in an EP2 with microphone array.
Yeah.
Not bad. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, my microphones are hard.
Yes, they are.
Unless you're Google.
Yes, they are.
They have some crazy cool machine learning that they did. And they made a light variant. That's kind of their magic sauce. Like if you open up a Google Home Mini, it only has 2 microphones. But what they do with AI, they train it on your voice. And then they can basically, from multiple people speaking through each other, talking at the same time, they can isolate your voice. It's crazy good. And because the problem with microphones is that people tend to have music playing, right? Or people have conversation in the background, and all that stuff needs to be filtered out. Like, you cannot just say, remove noise and then do speech to text, because, well, then maybe you're playing a movie that sound can still be containing speech. So, yeah.
Right. For the year's closing, I've been on a podcast for this release. So if you want to check out the Home Assistant podcast, I've talked about the release there too. But one of the questions I ended with to Phil there, I want to drop here too. Like Christmas is coming up, holidays are coming up, right? What is your home automation wish for Santa? Like product or whatever. Like, what do you want for Santa for Christmas? This Christmas from Santa?
I mean,
like feature,
maybe, or product, or something that, or I don't know. So what do you wish for Santa for your smart home?
I would really love some sort of like intercom ability through Home Assistant. That would be cool.
Like broadcasting.
Yeah, record video on the front end and have it be played on multiple speakers.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I have that feature in my to-do list icebox.
Oh, that's actually a nice idea.
It is, yeah. So I think it is actually relatively straightforward. That it would be 2 parts. Like one, just record audio and store it, so you can always play it in case you want to have your own text-to-speech with your own voice, because your kids might listen better. But also just have it like a temporary file that is just being broadcasted. Pick a few media players and go. So.
Yeah, because we already have the ESP Home speaker support, I guess. So we just need the microphone support.
Right, and the microphones are on your computer or phone, right? So I think it's, we wouldn't be able to. Oh, I guess the other part is like, it would be even nicer if you could talk to ESP Home, but that is like, Jesse's gonna work on that, he said.
Yeah.
He's committing now, right? He cannot like run away from it.
Yeah, I think you heard it here.
Yeah. The first, the Home Assistant front end, right? And the other part can be made already.
Right. What do you wish for, Paulus?
Man, it's difficult. Like, I don't know. I kind of like voice assistant, but that's of course I'm also dedicated. Like, that's gonna be 2023, right? That's why we want.
Yeah.
But I find it difficult to think. What is it that I really want? Yeah, just voice right now, but that's also just been on my mind, of course, the last few weeks. So
Yeah, I have to agree on the voice. I'd like something that doesn't play Sandstorm when I ask to turn off the light.
oh, by the way, you could also ask to play the whole album.
That's even worse. That part.
Yeah, and I'll probably the other thing I really would love is to just find the time to reflash all of my ESP boards around to make them Bluetooth proxies. So I'm super happy with the new code. It's super stable now, so it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
What about you, Frank?
I've been thinking about. I want to ask Santa for like cameras and doorbells that are local and do what they do, work well, have notifications and encryption, and just no cloud stuff, and like no scandals with the marketing terms on website that turned out not to be true.
Don't know what you could
Things like
possibly
that.
be talking about.
Yeah, so let's not go too deep in that. But like seriously, like I feel like cameras and thermostats and doorbells and those product categories are just really hard to get like
Right.
good local functioning, like without subscription kind of weird stuff, like just normal things that just work. And yeah, these are like things I would love. Just a normal doorbell that somebody pushes and I get like a push notification. Just works local, nothing weird.
I think the challenge there is that vendors just do this all in the cloud because then they want to do voice and the image detection in the cloud and all that stuff, right? Like there's no.
Yeah.
It's tricky, right? I mean, I have the Google doorbell. It's you can see it exactly in the frame there. I have it mounted
right.
I have it mounted to a piece of wood. It just as for show and testing. But it's I mean, it takes Google a lot of effort to build this, right? They do a lot of local AI on the device to save. It's a battery powered device even. It's kind of wild. But yeah, I think it's just too difficult right now. There's no off the shelf base foundation, I guess, that people use.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Reolink is mentioned. They are not really open. Like there are some hacks around to get the notifications, and then we have like the YubiGitty stuff, the UI stuff, which is those are great, but they're pretty much expensive, and you're locked into their ecosystem pretty much, right? It's not.
Yeah.
That part sucks.
So, and then there's the Doorbirds, I believe. Pascal has one, which are really nice, but they are really
They're expensive too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good. They work really well. They're expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. But it's the same story for cameras and for thermostats, I believe. And yeah, dear Santa. So yeah.
Whoa, these doorbirds are expensive. Like I just went
Yes.
upside. It's like $630. It's the cheapest one for a doorbell.
Yep.
That's wild.
That is wild. You can buy a VR.
Yeah. No, the only vendor though that will build you a custom one for your really weird house that has a really odd box. So yeah. So if you have like a situation where you can only fit something in a really strange space, you can actually reach out to them and they'll build you a custom one. But again, expensive. So
Yeah. All right.
If we get better VoIP support like SIP, then we can have like a VoIP doorbell into Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So much structure.
Things to wish for. The list is impressive. Like even during this conversation, I looked at the chat. Like everybody has something on their wish list. That's for sure. That's for sure. That's cool.
It would be cool if you could hook up your doorbell to our voice assistant. You have a subset of commands that people can so you don't have to answer yourself, but you have your robot.
All right. So that people just can say, "Open the door," and it will open.
No, but more like you first basically have a phone menu that you have to navigate at the doorbell.
Are you delivering a package? Say
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Step
Yeah.
left.
If the voice assistant could distract the person at the door long enough for me to get down to the door, that would be great.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually a useful thing. Before they leave with your new IoT smart gadget, right? That was being delivered.
Yeah, if they don't just throw it on the ground in the rain. So yeah, that.
All right.
Wow.
I think
This is 2 hours. It's pretty impressive.
that's it, right?
That's it. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. If you like what we're doing, then like and subscribe to Everything Smart Home for if you like Lewis. If you if
Yeah,
you
you gotta
like,
hit the like and subscribe below.
yeah, no, definitely also like our channel. You'll be up to date of you will put updated on like our next stream, which is going to be a month from now ish. No, if you want to support our work, definitely subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. It pays for core developers to work on everything, including like voice, for example, coming up, doing the releases, all that stuff. Yeah, and thanks everybody for watching.
Happy holidays.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Happy
Oh.
holidays.
Happy 2023.
See you next year.
Yes. That you all may have many Bluetooth proxies.
Oh yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.